to me, I see this kind of work like a mission because there's so many people out there that have so much to give, but then it's buried underneath so many layers of emotional dirt that
Mhm.
we carry around in life. And it's, the idea of like healing someone or helping someone rediscover themselves, the first reaction some people may have is like, well, I don't have any issues, right? But then it's like, this is not a matter of having issues. This is the matter of polishing yourself to be the best possible version of yourself. We all have a little dirt on us. We all, because life is hard. If you make it to your 30s, 40s, 50s, you got some dirt on you, right? And that stuff weighs you down. So the point is not necessarily to pinpoint people who have issues and trying to save them. The idea is to take these people that have so much to give and to rinse that heaviness off of them so that they can just be sharp and move forward and be the best they can be so they can go out and serve those missions that they were assigned in this lifetime, you know? So to me, that's really the goal of this because I had to rethink this whole thing. It's like, it's not really about people having issues or people being broken or anything like that. Everybody's capable of so much more than we've seen. And just being able to see that version of yourself, to me, it's worth it. And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, so for those of you that are wondering what in the heck are we talking about, right before we started recording this episode, we were talking about the content that I have going out on my Instagram, which
Yes.
then is I'm cross posting to Facebook and to LinkedIn, and we're talking about how refreshing and empowering it is, and those words don't even get to describe what it feels like to be able to. I've always resisted making videos. I've never wanted to put out video content. I always feel like I would lock up in front of the camera if it's just me talking to the camera. Like my brain gets jumbled up. I don't know what I'm talking about, right? But I do know what I'm talking about, just not when the camera's on. So I've resisted making videos, and now that I did this work with Tevi, to rinse that dirt off of me, or whatever, like that just the junk that life piles onto us over the years, that's been rinsed off, and now I have no problem recording video content, and I can do it all day every day and actually enjoy it, because I'm not worried about what is this person going to think, or what am I going to be judged, or anything like that. I'm not worried about any of that anymore. And it's liberating. That's the word. It's really
Yes.
liberating. And to your point, I'm here as a human in this lifetime with a mission. My mission is to help people love their career so that they can love their life, live a more fulfilled life, and not let their career prevent them from doing that. Um,
Exactly.
I've dedicated my life to that, but how would people know that if they're not seeing my content, if they're not hearing me talk about it, if I'm too afraid to put myself out there? And
Exactly.
that is the power of the work that you're doing with people, Tevi, about, as you put it, rinsing that dirt off of them, or just like all of the layers of gunk that life has piled onto us over time, like getting rid of all of that so that we could just bring our authentic self to the world and all of the gifts that we carry with us and make a difference that's meaningful.
Exactly. It's exactly what I meant. Because to me, like, it took me at least 2 decades for me to finally decide to step forward, show my face, put my name to this message, right? because I spent so many years wondering, well, what would they think of me? Because they already know me as whatever it is that they knew me as. And what would they think? What would they react? What if some people stop, supporting what I was doing before because of whatever I had to say now? What if, what if, what if, what if? And you spend so many years, sometimes decades, sometimes a lifetime, worrying about what someone might say to you or say about you or think of you, right? Now, you may say, okay, just ignore what people might say. Give yourself the mindset of not caring what people say. The the problem is that version of you doesn't exist until you bring it to life. That version of you that feels empowered enough to stand up and say, I don't care what someone has to say. This message is important enough for me to stand up and stand out for better or for worse and deliver my message because this is my mission.
Mhm.
That needs to be worked on. And a lot of people have not worked on that. So they
Mhm.
spend their whole lives bowing to the opinion of people or their anticipation of what people's reaction might be. Because a lot of times it's not even factual that people have any kind of negative reaction, but you're playing out these scenarios in your head because that's where you are on the energy level. You are so low because you can never bring yourself to say, this is my mission. I'm stepping up and doing the work that I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah, and to add to that, we also project onto other people what we think and feel about ourselves, or maybe not even about ourselves, but just about things in general. We project whatever is inside of us. We make assumptions that that's what somebody else is thinking or feeling. But like you said, that may not be factual whatsoever. That's coming from us because
Yes,
we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are.
yes,
And there's a long history of experiences, traumas, behavioral patterns, expectations that we met or failed to meet, all the things, right? Over the years that have
yes.
created those thoughts and feelings inside of us. So we can, and we carry that, and it becomes part of who we are. So we could say, well, I don't care what they, hey, don't care about what these people think or say. They're not paying your bills. They don't have any control over your life. They don't this and that. And we can kind of like logically we connect to that and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. They're not paying my bills. They're
Mhm.
not blah blah blah. And we can in our mind think that, but inside we don't feel that.
Yep.
So those two things don't match, and then we, like you said, we bow, we cower, we're stifled
Yes. Yeah.
because of all that, when really
Yeah.
we could work on it and let it just release that already.
Yes. Yeah. And it's I cannot focus and push that message enough because I know it will take people many times hearing this, right? Over and over because it's so ingrained in us
Yeah.
that what other people think matters so much that we need to sacrifice our authenticity in order to fit in, right? Because of that safety mechanism. If they don't accept me, then I won't get a job, then I won't have I won't have a social life, I won't have a career, my family might turn against me. So we acquiesce to this idea that we can only step as far as our circle of, I guess it's not even like family or friends. It's literally like you build a network, like you, you build a virtual network for yourself. and you limit yourself to that virtual network and say, I cannot step beyond that.
I'm really glad that you said that, because I wanted to bring this to a practical, like everyday example, and something that I've been talking a lot about on my social media accounts is networking, right? So I'm a career transition coach. I help people who are in a mid-career crisis to confidently determine what their next step is in their career and then take that step, right? So I've been talking a lot about networking and how crucial networking is to make this kind of transition and to make it quickly. So I wanted to talk about networking in relation to what we're talking about right now, because we also, a lot of people cower away from networking because of this thing that I have to present myself in a certain way, because what are they going to think? Before we get in, and we could go that direction if you want to or not. But I wanted to make I wanted to share a story about something that happened this weekend that really illustrates this point. Okay. So this weekend, my family and I, we went to New York for a wedding. Okay. It was awesome. With my in-laws, we went to this jazz club. Okay. And it was in the city, just in Hell's Kitchen, right outside of Times Square. Okay. And it was this awesome, classy jazz club. We were really excited. We got all dressed up to go. Okay. And it was a singer and a pianist. And my husband's dad was like, I've heard her before. She's wonderful. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Okay, so we bought tickets and we went. The singer and the pianist, they come out. The singer is wearing, she's a woman. She's wearing this just little casual looking cutoff shirt and bell bottom jeans. Okay, no makeup, big old hair. She looked beautiful, but she wasn't dressed up in what I was expecting, like, a gown or whatever.
Yeah.
And the pianist is just wearing like a sports, like a sports team jacket, and jeans. Okay. And they come out, and I was hit by, this isn't what I was expecting. They look very casual. They sit down, they introduce themselves, whatever. They immediately start playing music and singing. They blew my mind. They were so good.
Wow.
Blew my mind.
Wow.
And the whole time I was thinking about you and your work and the journey that I went on with you as I was, going through my process of rinsing off the gunk. And I was like, look at this. They had such a good time on stage. They were incredible,
Wow.
so talented. And the whole time I was thinking, look at these two. They're like, you know what? This is how I am. This is how I feel comfortable to dress. This is how I feel like I'm authentically representing myself. And they came on stage and it was like standing ovation. So good.
Wow.
I have goosebumps right now thinking about how wonderful it was.
Wow.
And I just applauded them. In my mind, I was applauding them for just showing up as their authentic self and bringing their gifts to everyone that was in the room there, enjoying that time so deliciously. It was fabulous. It was fabulous.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And so then I've been, just to transition, I've been talking a lot about networking, how networking accelerates, the transition process, because it opens us up to opportunities that we didn't even know existed. And those opportunities come up quickly. And if you're recommended, the transition into that opportunity can also happen very quickly. And this is something that I teach my clients, and I have for years. I know that it works, is why I talk about it so much. But so many people, when I start bringing it up, they, say, oh no, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't know how. I feel like it's forced. I feel like I'm begging people. I feel like this whole list of reasons why they don't like networking. And I really know, I think, but I also know that the reason why is because they're afraid to be judged.
Yes.
They're afraid of what that person might be thinking or feeling about them.
They're afraid to be seen.
They're afraid to be seen.
because we all carefully crafted a mask for ourselves. So you have, well, masks, like plural. You have your family mask, you have your career or your work mask, right? You have your social life mask. We all have these masks that we like literally keeping in the closet somewhere. And every time you walk out the house, you put it on, right? So you know you're not being seen and you're comfortable with that, right? Because as long as you put on the mask, you will be accepted, you will be praised, you will be the person that they expect you to be. So the day that any circumstance that makes them feel like the mask is coming off, right? It's scary because it's like these people don't even know me. Will they like me? Would I still be accepted in these circles? What would happen to me if anybody ever sees me for me? Right? So you go through this process, and even, a lot of people may set out to make changes in their lives. They take one mask and they replace it with another one. But to really take it off, that takes work. You have to push yourself past a certain point. You have to make yourself do things that you were never comfortable doing before. And that's how you transform yourself, right? So you have this idea that everybody has this idea that they want to improve on something, right? Whatever the reasons are, the goals, your dreams, make more money, have a better career. Everybody wakes up with this idea that there's a better version of me out there that I just have to get out there and grab it. Well, it's not it's not outside of you. You have to look inward. It's been there already. You don't have to reach the better version of you. You have to uncover the better version of you. You have to take things off of it so it comes through. So good news and bad news. The good news is you have nowhere to go to find it. It's already there. The kind of scary news is that it takes work and it takes the courage to stop and choose to come out as you are. It doesn't matter what comes as a result, you make that commitment to yourself.
So if you had to condense it down to three things that people
Yes.
can do to to look inward and to be able to bring themselves out, rinse off the gunk, bring themselves out, and just be.
Just be.
What
Oh,
what what, what if you had to condense it down to three things? What are the three things that people can do to make that happen?
I think the most important thing, the first step is honesty. Okay. And I'll come back to it. To me, the very first, the most important thing is honesty. The second thing is courage. And the third thing is commitment. Okay. Now, with commitment, I can add being resilient to that. So to me, those two go together, right? When you're committed, you have to be resilient. Otherwise, you lose your commitment, right? So the first step is honesty. I can't even tell you how many people will say, I want to, I need to, I want to, but they're not willing to be honest with themselves. It's okay to be, if you cannot be honest with yourself, who else can you be honest with? That means all your relationships, all your interactions are pretty much fictional. You have to be honest with yourself.
And when you say that, what do you mean? Because when you say that, I think about when I got honest with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and maybe that's what you're talking about. Maybe it isn't, but I'll use myself as an example.
Sure.
I got honest with myself because I'm like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I, feel confident in what I'm doing and the results that I can help people accomplish, and the strategic process that I use to help people accomplish those results. But there were times when I'd get on the phone with a potential client, and something would happen in that conversation that would trigger this domino effect of emotional reactions inside of me, that I just, like, my whole body would turn red and I would shut down, and my day, the rest of my day was completely shot. And I got honest with myself by saying, I'm noticing that this is a pattern. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And I don't know why it's happening. And I want it to stop. I want to figure this out, because I don't want this to prevent me from moving forward, being happy, being fulfilled, being successful. I don't want this to be a barrier for me anymore, but I recognize that it is. And I don't know
Mhm.
why. Is that the kind of honesty that you're talking about?
Yes. In a form, yes, because it's different for each person. Okay.
Right.
Okay, let me give you an example. All the years you just like you said, we've all noticed patterns about ourselves, right? Like there's an old guy that used to tell me, the answer is never far away. You've always known. You are never willing to face it. A lot of times what we see as, wow, this is a breakthrough, big discovery, you've always known, right? So, for example, you've always known that, I'm not talking to you specifically, in general, right? A lot of people, they've always known that they're insecure about their physical appearance. And because of that, when they go into a social setting, they tend to shrink. They don't want to be seen, right? And then when they are addressed directly, they tend to either overcompensate or maybe try to avoid the conversation altogether because they don't want to be noticed. Okay. Now, you may say, okay, I need help with these things, but you've always known these things about yourself, right? It's okay to look at yourself and say, I know these are things that I struggle with. There are people who are insecure about the way they look. There are people who are insecure about their age, people who are insecure about their height, right? Their weight. We don't talk about this enough. There are people who your whole persona is based on your assumption of people think of you physically. It's okay to admit that to yourself. Then you can overcome it. Then you can rise above it. But if at your own personal level, you're telling you, oh no, it's not a problem, but I need help. Okay, what exactly are we helping with? Well, I want to be more of this and more of that, but you're not willing to face yourself that this is what really is, this is what I'm struggling with. Okay. That honesty, that radical honesty towards yourself is, to me, in in my personal opinion, and based on everything I've done so far, that's where it starts. If you can face the demons, then you can prepare to go and win that battle
Yeah.
and change your life. But if you're not willing to face them, you're looking away and saying, well, something needs to change, something needs to be better, but you're not really facing it. So then it comes to the second part of it, which is courage.
Wait,
It's,
before you go
yes,
there, hold on a minute. What you were just
yes.
talking about reminds me of something that I learned. I don't remember when, in school. Maybe I studied psych in school, and it was an exercise of getting people to face the realities that they've been avoiding about themselves, their own self thoughts, their limiting beliefs. It wasn't limiting beliefs, but it was like your real perception of yourself. And it was to take out a mirror and look at, like, a good sized mirror, look at it, like really look into the mirror, literally, and say, I love you and I accept you exactly the way that you are. And some people can do that, and some people can't finish the sentence. I accept you exactly the way that you. Some people can't do that, and some people not only can't do it, but they cry. And the exercise is, what are those initial thoughts and feelings that come up as you're doing this exercise? Those are the things that you need to face. Those are the things that you might be avoiding. That's what we need to address, right? Anyway, I just wanted to say that before you moved on to the second thing, which is courage, because
Yes.
it takes courage
Yes.
to admit,
Yeah.
I can't finish the sentence because I
Yes.
think I'm this, or I'm not this enough, or whatever.
Exactly. So yes, to me, like when I start working with someone new, like a new client, before anything, I congratulate them for having the courage to even wanting to do this. It takes courage, knowing that you are going to expose yourself for the first time, because we've been wearing this mask since before. I mean, by the time you hit your teenage years, you already have like 3 or 4 masks. Okay, that's just part of life. Okay, and you learn it at a very young age. So to get to the point in your adult life where you're willing to face the realness of who you are, good, bad, and ugly, go through it all and said, you know what, this is what I bring to the table. Now I want to be better. That takes courage. Okay. So that courage now becomes the motor that you run on, because it's scary. Fear is going to want you to pull away from it. Fear is going to tell you, hey, you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. You don't know how this is going to end. You don't want to go there. Don't go there. So that courage becomes the motor that keeps you going, that keeps you climbing up that hill, even when it gets tough, right?
Yeah. That courage reminds me of, like, for example, like if you have a wound, right? Like when we were kids and you're running in the street and you fall and you scrape your knee.
Yeah.
And now it's raw and it's red and it's bleeding or whatever. And then you have to rinse it off, or you have to put hydrogen peroxide on it. And you don't want to because you know that it's going to hurt. But there's dirt, there's grass, there's all kinds of stuff stuck in that wound. You got to clean it. And finally, you relent and you say, okay, rinse it out, and it's going to hurt, but
Yeah.
it's to happen. You got to clean that so that it can start to heal.
Yeah.
It's much having that courage to face what it is that needs to be faced. You cannot deal with it if you don't look it in the eye and address it.
Yeah. And one thing that I would say is that the biggest hurdle to overcome is your own perception of yourself. Once you find the courage to get over that wall, where somehow, some way you've managed to accept, we're not saying that somehow you're going to turn into like a perfect little, satisfaction machine. But the day that you get over that wall, you're like, okay, this is what I have to work with. And I'm okay with it. Now let's play.
Mhm.
You just took yourself to a level that you have no idea the strength that it gives you. Because life is like a game of poker. You don't know what hand each person has.
Very true. We
So
assume
we
we have made a
assume,
lot of assumptions.
but in the end, is the person that just take whatever they have and say, you know what? Whatever I have to do with this hand, I'm gonna win. Game on. That's life. So the moment you get over that wall of self-criticism, of, you know, doing the math and see what you're lacking and what you don't have compared to the other people. The
And shame,
moment, and
shame.
shame.
Yeah.
Yes, right? The moment you get over that wall where it's like, okay, I know I'm not perfect. I'm not the most intelligent person out there. It doesn't matter. But this is what I have to play with. Let's go. Let's see how far I can take this train. So to me, those are the two things, right? You have to be completely honest with yourself, and you have to dig deep enough to find that courage to lift yourself over that wall of self-judgment and get to the other side of self to have that self-acceptance unconditionally. We're all work in progress, okay? And this is something I had to explain to every single person. We are all work in progress. Just because you're the one who decided to work on yourself doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. We all have things that we can improve upon. Every single person is work in progress, right? So you take your assignment and you run with it. No shame, no judgment, no, okay, what's wrong with me? No. Take whatever it is that you get, the hand that you were dealt, and you run with it.
Now
What?
you mentioned with the third acceptance, you mentioned resilience and how resilience.
So that's the third.
Uh-huh.
Because you have the acceptance, right? You're honest enough with yourself. Now you have the courage to accept yourself. Now you get on that journey, cleaning house, deciding what you want to be going forward with this newfound energy of yours, right? So it takes that commitment to keep on going in that direction, no matter what. No matter the ups and the downs, no matter the doubts, no matter the comments, the criticism, no matter whatever life throws at you, you take a pause for a couple of days and you get right back at it. That grind, that's the resilience part. It takes commitment.
There's also some resilience in the fact that once you get to the other side of that fence now, you are interacting with the world in a new way because you've released a lot of that baggage that you've been carrying around for so long. But the weight of that baggage is what you're used to. And dragging it is what you're used to. But now you don't have that anymore. So it's new. Yes. Everything is new. And it's different. And so there's a resilience in that's required to navigate that difference without reverting back to your old ways that weren't serving you.
Yes.
To me, I found that was it took so maybe you said that it took you 10 years or 20 years or something like that.
Yes, 20 years.
And that is why, you know, coaching or having a guide is so powerful because it took you 20 years, yes. Whereas it took me probably like 3 months. A good solid 3 months. Now, when I say 3 months, that might not sound like a lot of time, especially when you're comparing it to 20 years. It's like 3 months. Okay, 20 years. Wow, that's a lot. But when you're living day to day in this new situation, like this new level of awareness about yourself and why you used to let these things keep you hidden in a corner, right? But now you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to be hidden in the corner anymore. I want to be out and I want to be me, and it's okay to be me. Now this is a new thing. This is a new way of interacting with the world. And that is a lot of words, like unsettling, it is disorienting, it is you're unsteady because it's like I'm like a baby giraffe now.
Yeah.
Like
You
walking
have
from
to really learn. Yes, you have to really learn how to walk, how to present yourself to the world, how to
yeah.
speak, how to, yeah. I mean, I watched you go through that whole transition. It was like, and the funny thing is you have to find it yourself. You'll
You
be
have
guided to that point, but you have to find that new version of yourself.
and the other thing that you have to find is, and it's so much easier to grasp at that point, is what do you really want? Not what do you want because this is what life expects of you or what other people expect of you or your parents or your relationships or your friends or whatever. None of that matters anymore. It's like, okay, so what do you want? You ask yourself that question. You're like, I want to get in touch with what is really important to me. And there's a process to put your finger on that, to figure that out. And that's what I mean. And that for me, that was the biggest part of those 3 months. It was like, all right, I don't have to conform to anybody's expectations anymore.
Yeah.
My expectation is that I'm a good person and that I live in alignment with my values, which is to help people, all the things that are my values. But what I do and how I do it is completely up to me and not up to anybody else's expectations but mine. That to me was brand new.
Oh yeah.
And it took me a while. I was a baby giraffe that whole every minute of every day to figure out what that answer was for me. And that took resilience.
Yes.
It's
And
liberating, but it requires some resilience.
it requires some resilience. That's what I'm saying. Like, we say these things, right? And I know there's a lot of information out there. People talk about different things and ideas and how to improve yourself and stuff like that. However, going through the process versus hearing about it, two completely different things.
Absolutely.
Because when you go through the process, it changes you. It changes everything about you. And you're going to have to relearn how to be you again,
The real you.
the real you, right? It's kind of like you buy a brand new house, right? And you're like, my life has improved and I'm buying this brand new house and all the old stuff, I don't need it anymore. And you show up with your suitcase and the house is empty, right? And every day that goes by, you're going to have to decide what kind of bed do I want to sleep on? What kind of items do I want in my kitchen? You see, it's like you have this blank check. It's like, okay, this is your new life now. Make it as you wish. So every single day, you get to make these decisions. And yes, in some cases, it's pretty overwhelming. But then when you have that commitment and the resilience of always moving in that direction, you'll see that day by day, the pieces are just coming together somehow, some way. And things are starting to take shape. And you're like, wow, I'm actually doing this.
And this feels really good.
It feels really good.
It feels right. And it feels easy. And
Yes,
everything's working out.
yes. But then you had to go through that process.
Mhm.
So it takes courage, right? You look at yourself, you push yourself far enough to get over that wall. And then on the other side, you just have to keep it up no matter what, because the world is not going to understand you for a long time. There's something different with this person? Sure. But now the motor that you have running under the hood. Only you know. And now as time goes, you find ways to express this to the world. And I can see that happening, and it's a beautiful thing.
So there you have it. If the whole idea of walking around with a mask or a layers and layers of some kind of costume that you have fabricated for yourself as a way that you choose to present yourself to the world in various situations, that those masks, those costumes, they are heavy. They're heavy. And you know what? Not only are they heavy, but they are covering up the brilliance that is underneath all of those layers.
Yes.
And it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary to have those things on. So the three things that you have to do if you are just like, man, I am tired of wearing these masks. I'm tired of being hidden under all of these layers. And the thing is, I don't even know what's under there anymore. There's so many layers, I don't even know what's under there anymore.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be that way for you anymore. There are three things that you have to do to help you start taking those layers off. Number one, you have to be honest with yourself. Number two, you have to have the courage to look at to actually face them. And it does require courage because some of those things that you have to face may hurt. There might be some deep-seated pain associated with them, which is why you're working so hard to avoid them or to cover them up. So it does require courage, but you have to have the courage. If you want to take those layers off, those masks off, you have to have the courage to look at those things. And the third thing is commitment. You have to be committed and resilient to get, once you get over that fence, to allow the real you to be seen. We all have things. Life has just continuously piled dirt or thrown dirt at us.
Yes.
You know, we all are dirty in that way. But those are the three things that you have to do to rinse that dirt off so that you can bring your brilliance to the world, which is so important for you to do because when you bring your brilliance, it is a gift to the people around you.
Absolutely. Yes.
You are a gift, but those gifts are hidden under those layers. Let's take those layers off. And if you need help doing that, you can get in touch with Tevi. Tevi, I know you're going to put your contact information underneath.
Yes.
If you are looking at a career transition, you want to take your next step, you don't know what that next step should be, you can get in touch with me. I'm Grisel Scarantino. My contact information is going to be underneath here as well. So the point is that there is help available if you need it.
Yes.
We're just a message away, and we always will be. We're here for you.
We're here to guide. We're here to share the knowledge. This is the key here is to communicate. There's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It's just a matter of knowing something that you probably already know, but being reminded that it's always been there, right? I usually tell people, you've never met yourself. And the day you do, you'll be amazed. Mm-hmm. And every single time we get to that point, it's like, wow, I had no idea, right? It's already there. You don't have to go find it anywhere else. It's already there. You just need to let it come out and shine so we can all appreciate the brilliance of you.
So let it come out and let it shine so we can all appreciate the brilliance of you. Thank you for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
All right.